Good morning. Welcome to the Digger Motor Show right here on KTN News Live. And it is a beautiful morning, albeit cold, at least in Nairobi. We are at the Kenyatta International Convention Center, KICC. And as you can see, I have a heavy panel here that will be discussing the state of Kenya automotive industry. Where have we come from? Where are we? And where are we heading to? That's normally the normal arc of a story. And our Kenya automotive industry do have a story to tell. My name is Noah Kipkemboy, and I'll be leading this particular discussion. If you have any questions, of course, the hashtag is the Digger Motor Show. And make sure that you hashtag us there. We'll be able to pick some of your questions and commentaries online as we go on. But we want to jump into this discussion. We have different partners when you come here at KICC. Plenty of displays. We have good cars. I've seen one that is touching the floor. I'm told it has hydraulics. It goes up and down. Quite interesting. That's a car that you need for this weather. You just take it up and down, you know. And that's a good thing to have, actually. Just seeing locally assembled cars, imported cars, all these dynamics. E-mobility corner, I've seen electric bikes. So if you don't want to use a lot of energy in cycling, you have a sport ride there. Electric motorbikes, also quite a change right there. Even as we talk about that, at this particular moment, I'd like to introduce my panel this morning. On my immediate left, the gentleman in the suede brown look. This is the perfect look for Friday, by the way, with this weather. Mr. Andrew Molo is the Group Sales and Marketing Director at Ecta & Oriel. Thank you very much for joining us. Next to him, we have Wendy Gondi, who is the Director of Operations at Ken Bright Insurance Brokers Limited. Next to Wendy, we have Charles Mushai, who is National Dealer Sales Supervisor at Sifao Motors. No, actually, that is after Charles Mushai is the most branded man on the panel, yeah? In red. Charles, you look dope. You stand out. Look at all of us. You really stand out. That's good. But next to Wendy, we have Hussein Kamal, who is the GM Trackmat Africa Limited. Sorry for that mix-up. And at the far end, we have Jack Wharton, who is the Managing Director, Wharton Automotive, or as we call it, WA. Gentlemen, lady, welcome to this particular discussion. Wendy, have we achieved the gender parity that we always look out for? Hopefully we get to do that later in our subsequent panels. But starting us off, I'd like to engage Mr. Omolo. I mean, these days we have so many cars, yeah? And I think that's a good thing, yeah? More people are owning cars. I remember I was born in the 90s. I don't know whether we had so many cars in the 90s because in our village we knew how many people had cars. And today it's a normal thing. Talk to us where the automotive industry briefly has come from and where we are right now.
I think on the whole, as a country, we've evolved rapidly. And we've seen an increased uptake of motor vehicle and people embracing private motor vehicle ownership. In the 80s and 90s, it was more of a status thing as you're going forward. I think now, as you have more middle class coming in, consumption has gone up, tastes have gone up, people need more privacy. A lot of people can afford vehicles. So you've seen an increase, a surge in private vehicle ownership. And I think it's a good thing, in a way. Automotive industry has a way or multiply effect in creating jobs. The more vehicles you have on the road, the more fuel is being consumed. You have more people employed in the petroleum sector. You have more mechanics, the spare parts shop. So it's a whole boom for everyone. So I think it's a win-win. Though I know environmentalists will come in and say, Andrew, you have more pollution coming in. Yeah, but I think in life, everything has a little bit of a positive and a negative. I think for Kenya, it has enhanced efficiency in how we do things. If I look at, if I go back and pull back to the lower end of the pyramid, if you look at the evolution of boda, for example, it's amazing how much it has enhanced economic activity, both for the mama mboga, for people who in the informal sector, you can move goods a lot more easily. I even see people moving houses using boda boda. Before, I remember those days, even getting a very beat up pickup to move housing was really expensive. But now a boda boda guy will put your three-seater in it and get it moving. So I think it's good for everyone. It's a more efficient economy for everyone, right from people at the bottom of the pyramid and all the way to the top. So it enhances economic growth, in my opinion, and should be
That's
encouraged.
incredible. And Wendy, this multiplier effect that Omolo is talking about, you are in the insurance business. For the longest time, we've been discussing health insurance. And now with the growth of the automotive industry, are we seeing a similar effect on auto insurance in the country?
Yes, I can say so. Can you hear me? Yeah, I can say so. There's been a higher uptake of insurance. As you know, in Kenya, motor insurance is actually mandatory. So you find people are being more responsible on the roads. So they're taking care of their assets. They're coming in, taking insurance. And you can also see there's a lot of innovation happening behind insurance. So you find that nowadays you don't really need the sticker, you know. We are embracing digital methods of obtaining insurance, and also the claims processes are becoming clearer and things like that, because, you know, with more usage, the risk actually goes higher. So yeah, insurance in the auto side is doing quite well.
Definitely. Later on, we'll be going through the numbers, because motor insurance is one of those sectors that has not been making money, always making losses. So as much as it's growing, what exactly is this, and how can we turn those tides around? Mr. Hussein, you know, when I see you, it's synonymous with seeing trucks, okay? Because, you know, Ashok Leyland, a brand that you handle. And that takes me back to, again, my village. It must be a very popular village, because trucks are essential when it comes to construction, yeah? And we're talking about investing heavily in infrastructure, road in this country. The kind of growth we've seen in infrastructure has been enormous over the past 10, 15 years in this country. As a player in this particular growth, have you also seen a similar growth, especially in that wing of business where we're dealing with commercial trucks?
Hello?
All right.
Okay, can you hear me? Great.
Yes.
You just compared me to a truck, so I don't know how I feel about that, really. But yes, I think Leyland, when you see the name Leyland, Leyland stands for quality. We have seen Leyland from the time of our grandparents. Basically, some of those vehicles are actually still on the roads. So of course, you know, costs, economies of scale mean that Leyland is now being manufactured in India, and hence Ashok Leyland. But yes, when you come to infrastructure, we have seen a lot of growth. Surprisingly so, during the COVID years, when a lot of businesses were, you know, facing a lot of turmoil, we were actually growing at that time, because the infrastructure projects which the previous governments have initiated, those were still continuing. That work was going on. So we have seen, you know, you could say it's a boom of sorts, but of course it also plays on the cost of the vehicle. It also plays on the quality of the vehicle. And we'd like to think that we are maybe the most cost-effective vehicle, but yet we offer the best quality as far as we are concerned. So yes, we have seen a lot of growth in that area.
Yeah, that's quite interesting, because many industries are talking about recovery from the effects of COVID till to date. That was quite a game changer. Then we saw Russia, Ukraine also bringing a whole different dynamic to this particular discussion. And we'll be going into that later on. But Mr. Mushai, you know, earlier on I said that you're the most branded man on the panel, but you just stand out. You know, red is that color that do stand out. And I'm looking at sifao so far in your role to where we are. And you guys are sort of symbolic of, should I call it amalgamation? Because you're handling so many brands right now. It wasn't the same case many years back. You know, the Mercedes will come, do their own. Talk to me about this evolution in the auto industry, where we are seeing centralization, amalgamation, people pairing up, unlike that individuality that we used to see back in the day. What is driving that?
Okay, thank you about that. What I may say about that kind of merger that is coming within companies, one is to ensure survival, because times are challenging. Considering what has happened after COVID, we need to take OEMs and put them in strength in one solid platform that can be really favorable to users. In this case, in the sifao, we have become actually a mobility solution to B2C customers, B2B customers, and anybody who's looking into something like gray imports, what we call used vehicles. Because by the end of the day, we don't want to capture a certain segment of our clientele. We want to be vast and to offer that solution in a better way and make sure Kenyans or any interested party has a solution from CFAO.
Okay. And I'm glad you've mentioned that. It seems it's happening across all industries, because I remember back in the day, and I'm glad the acting CEO of Standard Group is here. Back in the day, people would create content outside and sell to the media houses. And today, media houses are producing the same content in-house and airing in terms of cutting cost. So this change that we're seeing in the auto industry, either you acclimatize or die. You center everything. So your client comes by, they can get also spare parts from the same platform, which is quite interesting. And we'll look at the dynamics also, what is happening in that regard. And Jack, good to see you. I know you represent a new entrant into the market, globally speaking, Grenadier. And I'm just thinking, I mean, 2023, you guys have entered into the market. Now you're in Kenya, you're in Africa. Talk to us, the dynamics, has it changed? Because we have old players, they sort of have learnt the rope of the games. As new entrants, are you seeing, do you have a unique approach to this?
It's an interesting question, because we certainly are new, both as Inios Automotive and Wootton Automotive, and our product is new. So everything is new, and it's just our product. So somewhat different to the previous conversation about having a house. And there are benefits to both, and there are cons to both. So just representing the Grenadier means all our focus can be for that particular product. We can offer a very bespoke service to our customers who want that particular product. And of course, we do also have spares, after sales, all available here in Kenya. So I think, our product is priced in the premium segment. We do offer a bespoke service to our customers, and I think that will be much appreciated.
Okay. That's good to note. And you've mentioned premium. Majority of our cars today, while coming to work, I was speaking to my Uber driver. I took an Uber, and he was saying that cars have become so expensive, especially the small cars, 1,000cc, 1,500cc, even those below 1,000cc. They are almost hitting $1 million shillings. And he pointed at a fielder in front of me, and he was like, back in the day when I used to do taxi, that was the smaller car. But now that is considered a big car. It seems innovation in other sectors, in the transport sector, for example, with ride-hailing apps, they're bringing changes even in the way we are of taking products in this market. Mr. Omolo, talk to me about that.
I think the evolution in terms of what kind of sizes of vehicles we have has two sides to it. I think when we had Uber come in and all these people on app, their desire was to make taxi rides as affordable as possible. The biggest component in any fleet management is fuel. So Uber initially realized that the only way to bring that cost down is to have smaller units, smaller vehicles. And then that had two impacts. I think before Uber came, if you went to the auction in Japan for pre-owned cars, that segment of cars between 600 to 1,000 cc didn't have a market. So Uber created a new market for these vehicles. As in any auction system, that price goes up. For Kenya, we've got a two-edged sword here. The price goes up, our shilling loses value. Of course, now the price in the market will go up because demand has gone up. We've lost on forex side. Also on the interest side, also we're seeing interest going up. So that has an impact. And for me, I'm happy that Uber happened because now for the first time as a people, we are beginning to appreciate that a car can be small, which I think is a good thing. So if you look at the dynamic type of changes has been driven mainly by technology, which is making taxi more affordable. I remember those days, if you wanted to go to the airport from town to airport, it was like 3,000 shillings. If you didn't have it, you can't get a taxi. But now for an Uber ride, 600, 800 will be in town. So I think it has changed the whole dynamics of how that works.
That's the power of technology, yeah? Remember these days, even with your phone, you can shoot something. Speaking about my industry, initially you used to, hire a very huge camera and a crew. Now it's been sort of democratized. And Wendy, what's happening in the insurance sector is also kind of interesting because I was looking at some of the dynamics that we saw with the change, because post-COVID also you guys experienced sort of an awakening. You were raising premiums, going higher. Then you decided for cars over the age cap of 12 and also cheaper cars that cost 600,000 and below, saying, you guys, I don't think we'll cover you. Yeah? At the same time, we are having the Ubers coming in strongly in a way. We are getting smaller and relatively affordable cars. So talk to me about that balance, because it seems you guys are walking on a tightrope. Already your motor sector is loss-making, so, and you're trying to raise more premiums. At the same time, the cost of living, people's spending of insurance is becoming a concern. How do you balance all that?
So just to explain that a little further, it's all about the customer behavior. So you find the reason why a lot of these insurance companies were feeling a bit iffy on how the cars are being, on raising the premiums or saying they don't want to cover these motor vehicles is just the use. Like clients and customers are not using the cars responsibly. So that in turn makes the risk higher, and meaning the claims become higher. Now, in the insurance industry, we are constantly innovating. So you find we are now looking at entrants in like new types of insurance. I don't know if you've heard about telematics. So the devices we are now installing in the vehicles just to look at how a client is driving, the information that is fed back into the insurance companies gives us insights. And that's, with that kind of information, we're able to see this particular client drives their car well, and that means they are liable, or rather they do get a discount in the next year. So we're just, the way you talk about a tightrope, we're trying to see how best can we service the customer, and how best can we also tell the customer that this insurance is beneficial to you. So next year, instead of getting it higher because you drove well this year, you get a discount. Yeah.
So it is sort of feeding into each other. First of all,
exactly.
We know your behavior as a client. We'll monitor you, and hopefully you start towing the line, and then we reward that with lower premiums.
Exactly.
Hey, a lot of interesting mind games right there. I kind of like it. But Sain, I know you guys are big on commercial, yeah? Yes. But you also have products. You have motorbikes and the accessories. We are talking about spare parts. Talk to me about on the commercial end of things, because we are seeing a rise in leasing as an option that people are exploring, especially on the commercial end. What is driving this? Is it becoming more common? And are there advantages and disadvantages around this?
So yeah, correct. I mean, we also deal with spare parts, and we, by the way, Wendy, we are also a commercial, not just commercial, but an automotive repair center on the panel of most insurance companies. So just to tie that synergy in, yes. But to answer your question, as far as leasing goes, leasing is, of course, becoming more popular. I believe the government, the GOK, has basically moved 100% onto the leasing platform. Previously, they used to buy the vehicles, keep them, servicing, everything used to cost them. So now they have pretty much, I think during the last administration, they moved to leasing. Leasing is not yet as commonplace as should be. Like, for example, we have a sister company in Uganda called Ashland Motors, and leasing in Uganda is pretty big. Most of the major companies there go towards leasing. Companies like, I think, Twiga Foods in Kenya, these kinds of companies have now started going to that platform because it makes more sense. The advantage of leasing is that you don't have to worry about servicing the vehicle. Everything comes tied in. You don't have to worry about any repairs, anything. All of that is basically, the price has been factored in. For one-on-one clients, we are still by and large using the financing option, where a client wants to own the truck. I think as Kenyans, we still have the mentality that if you're paying money, you want to own it. You don't want to, just use it for a while and then give it back. So it depends. There are advantages, disadvantages. At the end of, say, 5 years, for example, you're giving the car back rather than you owning the product if you're going through financing. So it depends on how you look at it, I guess.
Double-edged sword, you call it, yeah? But I think there is a need of mentality shift right there, as you say. You can lease and utilize it and return it after a period of time, right?
Yeah, so I mean, the companies, there are two major ones that I personally know of. There's Rentco, there's Vile. These are the two major companies that do leasing. And then, of course, there are banks who have a leasing option as well. Like NCBA actually does leasing also. But the thing is that I don't think they have done enough to popularize the product in the market, honestly. How many times have you seen a product being advertised and say, lease it for as low as this much? And, to someone middle class, for example, who wants to buy, say, Toyota from Sifao, if that comes, like I've seen this a lot in Western countries where they advertise and say, lease it for as low as, for example, 100,000 shillings per month or 50,000 shillings per month, for example. That might make sense to someone. So that needs to be advertised more, popularized more, possibly.
Definitely. And Mushai, looking at our ecosystem, because we are a team player as a country. I'm looking at the business environment that we're in. Majority, almost 80% upwards, are micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises. And oftentimes, this is the most neglected sector. First of all, in the financial system, for the longest time, banks have been asking for collateral. I know now banks are going down to the ground to look for those businesses to find a model of funding them. But also I'm looking at transport sector, because you guys are huge when it comes to logistics, and you could do so much to support these MSMEs. Is there an opportunity? I know under sifao there is Loxia. I think that is the leasing arm. But talk to me about how we can empower, as a sector, empower our micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises.
Thank you. At the mention of Loxia, actually, that's where everything starts in sifao. Because ideally, as much as we look into the corporate business part of it, we're also trying to narrow down and accommodating any interested person or entity that may be looking into that. That way, you're pulling them, shaping them, and making sure they're well taken care of. On the same, we work together with all established financial offers, especially banks, mainstream. We do a lot with them. And in this case, you find that they can easily tap and convert an interested customer. And on the other side, we have a product that we can easily lend to them because once it's off our side, it's given to the financial side, and then they can make arrangement with those SMEs with their capabilities. Regardless of the time, you find now the business is growing either way.
Okay. Jack, you know, we were chatting. I went to see your product. Quite a heavy car, you know. It's heavy. It's very macho car. And we were chatting and saying that to own your product, you have to be a multi-millionaire, you know, to be able to afford that car, to be honest. Right now, I don't know, how much is it retailing for?
Shillings currently starting, and it does change quite a lot at the moment, but let's look at a ballpark figure of 18 million Kenya shillings.
18M.
On the road, all inclusive.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm thinking what I can do with 18 million Kenya shillings. Plot in Kamulu, you know, and whatnot. But in that regard, that high-end market, yeah, in Africa and also in the economic status that we're in, because majority of our vehicles on our roads are actually financed, especially personal cars. In that category that you're operating in, are we also seeing heavy involvement of the financial sector, or are we heavy on cash?
No, there is financing, for sure. I think financing is relevant throughout the entire spectrum. And even if people can ultimately afford cash, there may very well be situations where they prefer financing. So just like everyone else, through our financial partners, we do offer leasing solutions and asset finance solutions. And for business owners of SMEs, I mean, the Grenadier offers a lot of value, actually. And although it is not cheap, it does offer a lot of value, particularly when you compare to what else is on the market. I mean, the Grenadier was designed to fill a perceived gap in the market, which I believe is there, which other automakers have sort of vacated, to be frank. I mean, Grenadier is a tough, strong, from a suspension, body construction point of view. It is probably the most robust and capable off-road vehicle you can buy out of a showroom today. But in addition to that, it is also very comfortable and practical.
Okay.
And may drive like a more normal, more, I would say it actually drives a bit more like a smaller European car. So you get the best of two in one, if you like.
Okay.
It's not fragile. And you see, if you look at other vehicles of the past, or off-road vehicles of the past, and let's take an example from Toyota 80 series. I think is well respected in history as one of the fantastic and best off-road cars produced, but it was a comfortable vehicle as well. It wasn't the 70 series, which has always been completely utilitarian. So this 80 series morphed into the 100 series, and then the 200 series, and now the 300 series. And this is a very popular vehicle still to this day, and actually more expensive than ours. But, and I don't want to start a fight here, but I believe it's more fragile also. You see, and we didn't, or Inios didn't come to the market, it came to the market specifically because there was a gap, and we felt there are people out there who want a tough car but is also a modern car.
Okay.
Okay? And this Land Rover here I'm looking at, and I guess it's just a film car. If you want to replace this, for example, what do you buy right now? It's a question there. I mean, these tough vehicles are being phased out.
Exactly.
And we thought, well, in Africa we still have a Toyota 70 series, which is in somewhat similar in construction because it has a live axle front and rear, which is unique to the Grenadier as well. But in many markets around the world, that vehicle is not available.
Okay.
Okay, so the Grenadier fits that slot, I think, amazingly well in giving you a comfortable but yet tough car in one.
Okay. I'm glad you preempted that you want to start a fight here. And now Omolo is looking at me and some of the products that you guys are handling, being told, you know, you're not making tough cars as tough as it used. It's the same notion, you know, as older folks. We normally tell younger folks, you know, in our days, this is how things used to be. But now, people are weaker, cars are weaker. Yeah, we're not making as tough cars as therefore. I mean, Omolo, talk to me about the way production and making of cars has changed over time? Are we making weaker cars, smaller cars, and also smaller engines, especially when you bring in the aspect of emissions and the world being very conscious of what we are emitting from these cars?
Okay. I think weaker, stronger, faster is all debatable. It's a matter of perspective. On the engine side, my comment is that due to our consciousness in terms of environment, a lot of us automotive manufacturers are moving towards more efficient engines. Some are becoming smaller with turbos, catalytic converters and all that to save the environment as it is. And of course, to get as much energy out of every single molecule of fuel that you burn. So in terms of efficiency, we've seen a great efficiency across all manufacturers in terms of performance of engines that become smaller, more powerful, more resilient. And of course, that comes also with its own downsides, that is, in terms of maintenance. In terms of construction, if I give Kenya as a reference, now that I'm in suspension business, Oriole, if you look at our roads over the last 30 years, our roads are a lot better than they were before. So you find the business of heavy suspensions as that market has kind of gone down. I remember there are days if I drove to Kisumu and back, I had to replace my thyroids and my shocks and everything else. Now it's like a runway. You can go all the way and come back, no issue. So the issue is, what's the balance between there as it is? So as Kenya, where we stand, our infrastructure is definitely much better. It means we can accommodate a lot more lower cars than we could do before, like the one you saw there. So in terms of infrastructure, we're doing well. In terms of manufacturing, I think there's a lot of collaboration between manufacturers. There's a lot of concentration of who supplies what parts globally. So I think if you go back to the 70s, if you could hear a car sound, you'd know that's a VW, that's a Toyota, that's a Peugeot. Now what has happened? Because a lot of these companies are going to these cars and manufactured by certain people, the sharing of engines. Even my good great idea is running on a BMW engine. So you see, there's all this collaboration that's going on. So that extreme uniqueness that a brand may have had in the 70s and 60s and 50s has kind of faded because of economies of scale. You are very good at making ABS system as Bosch. We source from you. Yeah, so that change is there across the whole manufacturing spectrum. So now the manufacturers, the OEM, how do you position your product? Which segment of the market do you want? And then now you tailor-make your model in that way. Yeah, thank you.
You've been told with your BMW, but we are not starting fights here, yeah? Yeah, we're not starting fights here. Wendy, I'm looking at you had mentioned telematics and now dashboard cameras. Our cabinet secretary in charge of transport said after the tragic accident that it's high time that we invest in dashboard cameras and vehicle telematics. That is technology driving safety, which is very important, I think. But due to the situation talking about safety, with the raising of premiums that we've seen in your industry, how much migration are we seeing from people getting or downgrading from comprehensive to third-party kind of coverage because of unsustainability? Is that a concern for the industry?
To be quite honest, it's not really a concern. We've not seen a great shift. The people who have the behavior of buying comprehensive are still buying comprehensive. Those who find third party more favorable are still buying it at their third party. Now, what I can say is change is the uptake of change is not digested very easily by a lot of people. So telematics, though it's a conversation within the industry, but you find some people are like, oh, it's like a big brother kind of situation. People are going to watch what I'm doing, but they don't see it in the long run that this raise in premiums, because everything within the business environment is going up. Cost of living is going up, but they're not seeing the bigger picture, seeing that this information that we will be taking in is what you find the actuaries on board and things like that, use that to get products that are beneficial to the consumers. So it would be good to see people take up that telematics, because then we get to start programs like pay as you drive, you know. So if your car is parked, like what we saw during the COVID time, a lot of people were not renewing their insurance because they were not going anywhere. But now, if we now adopt that and do pay as you drive, meaning you're only charged at the time you're on the road, because that's where the risk is. When the car is in the garage, there's no risk. But we can only get that information if we have those devices input. Okay. Yeah.
Oh. And Kamal, you know, earlier on you mentioned how you relate with Wendy's industry. I don't know whether there is a love-hate relationship between the insurers and actual people who need money, you know. First of all, talk to me, based on your repair wing of the business, are Kenyans that bad when it comes to road safety? And do you think some of these innovations will sort of smoothen that and make things a little bit safer on the road?
So as far as we are concerned, it's not a love-hate relationship. It's all love, let me tell you, because we get the business. No, but vehicle safety actually, and I really like that you've asked this question, because it's something that I'm personally very, very passionate about. I believe GOK looks at this in the wrong way every time. And I don't want to say this, but maybe someone always ends up making some money out of it. Installing dash cams as a method of controlling speed or enhancing road safety doesn't make sense at all, literally. Because who is going to be looking at those dash cams? I have a dash cam I got from China for 1,500 shillings, and it failed after a month, but it's there on the windscreen. Is there a cop who is going to check it to see if it's working, not working? Where are those telematics fed in? So from a point of someone who is going to sell the dash cams to the public, yeah, someone is going to make big bucks out of that. But let me tell you, one thing I'm so surprised that when, Murkomen mentioned this thing, and if you look at it, we are currently using speed governors. They introduced this, in like 10 years ago or something, for example, the new generation speed governors. And the reason they introduced these speed governors was they told us that the old generation is too outdated, it's manual. The new speed governor can be tracked online by NTSA, yeah, and they are able to see any defaults, anyone exceeding the speed limit, for example. They are able to monitor that in live, real time, and actually even disable that vehicle if need be. So if the technology is already there, we are already installing those devices in vehicles for the last 10 years almost. The cost went up from, I think, 15,000 to now 27 to 30,000, depending on which brand they are using. So that's an additional cost to the customer. And then the renewal per year is 5,000 or 6,000 shillings to renew, just to renew that service on an annual basis. And if you want, me as a client, I can log into the NTSA platform. Whoever is selling you the speed governor, you can log into the platform. It is tied to NTSA, and you can track your vehicle. You can set geofencing. You can monitor any default. So if the technology is already there, it can be used. Why is the government wanting to force us to go into something which honestly to me does not make sense?
Yeah, I see Wendy feeling to give a rebuttal right there, but our time is really moving. Mishai, since we are still on this topic of road safety, which is a huge concern, and you guys handle many brands, in terms of ensuring that we don't have the cases that we've had, other than behavioral change, is there also from the car makers? I know Kenya being signatory to the standards of safety of vehicles globally, it's something that discussions are ongoing also. Talk to me about where sifao sits in regards to matters road safety.
Thank you about that. Actually, when we give vehicles to users, and in this case being the drivers, not the owners, we usually take them for training at our academy. We have a course actually in the race course, if you want to do the off-road driving, basically to teach you how to handle and to know the extremes, the do's and don'ts. That's one aspect of how we handle it, because by the end of the day, you need to understand the product very well, and for you to know the extents you can push it. So that one, we've been handling it over the years, and we've been, anytime we enroll guys, we actually call them to a school, and we take them through the course. And by the end of the day, we qualify them and grade them. So that way you can gauge your users or your drivers, how they handle. And actually this one sees the operation cost of the fleet going down.
Okay. That's quite interesting. I want us to take a segue before I give, because we have around 12 minutes. Jack, you know, there is the emerging issue that we have seen with immobility. Yeah, and this is one of the discussions that we were having before we came on air, and you're saying we have to have a realistic approach when you talk about immobility in Africa. Do you feel we are biting more than we can chew in our approach to immobility, and how can we best have a smooth transition, or rather coexisting with our traditional cars?
Biting more than we can chew perhaps isn't the right way to put it, and specifically not from a Kenyan or African context. I think from a global context, we may be, the powers that be, may be biting more than they can chew. I think an incessant push for e-mobility, if you like, is going to drive the cost of transport up. And that is in turn going to drive the cost of everything up, and actually just ultimately, I guess to be simple, make people poorer. I don't think that's a very good idea, really. So I think we should be very careful with e-mobility and how we push it. And certainly I think ultimately, I guess, the product should win. So if you have a e-mobile or electric powered, that's what we're getting at, a product that is actually fantastic and can do everything fantastically, it shouldn't require government subsidy, and people will naturally buy it. Now, I don't think it's right if a certain sector is heavily pushed by government and another one penalized. It may also hide innovation, because there are other emerging technologies, perhaps even uncovered, and one example where it could be very good, and it may not be, we don't quite know yet, is hydrogen. But if all investment is focused on electric power, you might actually miss out on that hydrogen power, which might come. And all being said, I really think petrol, diesel, etc. is here to stay for quite a while in the automotive sector globally. And we have to accept that. And if you try and push too fast, it's just going to get more expensive for everything. And that doesn't help anyone. So I urge, I guess from a Kenyan context or an African context, do not necessarily blindly follow the world, or the Western world, if you want to say. Let's take it carefully, and then it shouldn't be adoption of all this should not be at the cost. There is a cost, and that cost should be carefully looked at.
Okay. Oh, I know when you have a heavy panel, as heavy a panel as this, you just touch the tips of the different sectors that you guys represent. But briefly, as we close up, Andrew. Now we are looking at a future that is changing. Locally, we are having different dynamics. Talk about the policies that you're setting, for example, the taxation policy. We have the common tariff for ESC, now 35% duty on imports of cars. That is one. There is the issue of e-mobility. Lots of changes happening moving forward. Where are we heading? What will be the biggest changes that we're expecting to see in the medium term to long term in Kenya's automotive sector as we finish up?
Wow, that's a heavy question. In terms, we are working on an automotive policy together with government in terms of trying to encourage local assembly, local content, and also to reduce the number of pre-owned vehicles. I'm avoiding the word used. Pre-owned vehicles that we are bringing in, and also looking at carbon emissions. We are heavily reliant on World Bank and they dictate some of our policies. So it's a whole mix of things when you look at it very critically. As a Kenyan, you talked about EV. As a Kenyan, I would jealously guard fossil fuel because we've just struck oil and then now it seems oil is sinful. On the other side, on the EV side, it could be a win for us because as a country, we have got very rich natural ways of producing power, which we've not enhanced. Geothermal is massive, wind is massive, solar is massive. So in terms of clean energy, we can do it. Yeah. So I think we just have our policy makers to just align everything clearly. Which way are we going? Then we align ourselves that way. Thirdly, we're in a difficult state. 80-20. Probably 20% of our automotive solutions are new, 80% pre-owned, hand-me-down from Japan. So we're not buying vehicles we want, we are buying vehicles we can afford, hand-me-down. So that policy guidance becomes a little bit tricky. But I think on the whole as a country should sit back and look what will give us jobs for our people. What can use resources that we have here in Kenya? We have wind, we have solar, we have geothermal, we have hydro. So in terms of power, I believe we still have a lot of headroom in producing electricity. In terms of petroleum, we have it as well. So like you said, it's a mix of the two, and how well do we guide that? In terms of how we look at the future, it's difficult to predict. If you ask somebody in the 1980s, early 1990s, what will happen in the mobile telephony? We're like, Kenya, maybe not. They will simply leapfrog from copper straight to mobile telephony. So you never know. Yes. It might take a different turn altogether. Definitely. So I'm having an open mind. Thank you.
Yeah. They say, as a prophet, you have to be very careful. And I see you've been very careful. You say, you don't know what the future holds. Maybe things can take a very interesting turn. Yes. Wendy, these numbers are not encouraging at all, to be honest. Looking at gross premiums, went up 14.1% in the year 2022. Claims have been going up also, that 7.4 billion in the year 2022. Interesting numbers here. And motor insurance is essentially not making money. Yeah. What does the future hold for you, especially your job now, if we continue making these losses, Wendy?
What I can say, I agree with him where he says that we don't know what the future holds. But in this particular industry, we are constantly innovating. We are constantly looking at what's happening around. We've slightly touched on electric vehicles, and that's basically where we're seeing things going. But the biggest thing we've seen within the industry that collaboration has to happen. There has to be collaboration with the manufacturers. There has to be collaborations even at the claim side where we're talking about spare parts and things like that. And the more we go ahead, the more we are going into the technological space of everything, where we are going electrical. You'll see even when you look at claims management, there'll have to be platforms right now to look at if we are reducing carbon footprint. We're like, okay, look at green repairs. Where can I get these parts at affordable prices so that we can be good also environmentally? So in terms of the future, I know the numbers don't look good, but we are headed to newer things. And I still state the collaboration effect will see a reduction in these numbers and betterment for the environment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Briefly, Hussein, I know you also say you don't know what the future holds, as the precedence has been set here. But briefly, where you sit and the business that you operate, what are the big changes that you're expecting to see, especially in the local scene? Briefly.
Thanks. Okay, so I wish to touch on e-mobility just a little bit, because that is part of what we are doing also as Truckmart Africa. We have our other arm called Empower Africa, which we set up, and we have been working with Unitar and KCB to bring an electric bike to the market called Fika. But one of the things which we realized over the last couple of years of development, because we've had so many meetings with Kenya National Chamber of Commerce, some of the relevant government bodies, and to me, what is happening honestly is, if not handled carefully, the whole electric vehicle platform is a bubble that is being created right now, which is going to pop. In the sense that we have no standards in place at all until now. Like cabs does not have any standards that they've come up with. We don't have the policies in place for this. So it's basically the cart being put in front of the horse, and that is how we are driving it. That we're pushing e-mobility so much, but we have no standards to guide this. Just as an example, batteries are so sensitive. Wires are so sensitive. So what kind of thickness is a wire supposed to be on an electric bike or an electric vehicle? What kind of batteries? Is it lithium ion? Is it, what is guiding these processes? So none of that is in place. If you look at Rwanda as a case study, Rwanda was far ahead of us. They developed the policies before they actually launched the product, and now they are going about it in a very, very safe way.
Okay.
So that is just one take on things. On the other side, as far as the future holds, I mean, the commercial sector, as long as government infrastructure is a proven bet. I think it's the ratio is that 1 shilling invested in infrastructure results in 4 shillings back to the economy, something along those lines. When you build roads, you open up areas, you're opening up so much potential basically to those areas, and we are happy to be part of that process basically with our trucks and commercial side of things.
All right, definitely. Our time is running out. Mr. Mushai, what does the future hold? Is it merge or collapse from sifao's standpoint?
Okay, thank you. I think the future is very bright, considering Kenyans are exposed and all users, and we accommodate everybody from everywhere in the world. And as you see, the trend actually for hybrid and electric vehicles is coming in, because we are borrowing technology from out there. We are trying and looking a way of upscaling our skills, not only in adapting, in knowing how best we can handle in our local level. So this is a call for the government to input resources to our people. And once that is done, I think that is our future.
All right, definitely. And Jack, with your new product, of course, with the BMW engine, as you mentioned, you had to, it was a soft job. But talk to me about what does the future hold? Do you look forward to maybe starting to assemble this Grenadier in Kenya?
Yeah, the future for our silky smooth BMW powered Grenadier in Kenya, I think is in the long term pretty good. I think we're here for the long game, and I think it takes some time for the product to prove itself. I'm confident this will come through from a technical perspective. So there are immediate economic challenges, and the FX issue has been discussed already. But I think with time, Kenya has always been resilient. Since inception, I think we'll be fine. Local assembly is something that can't, it's not going to be rushed into instantly. I mean, but it is on the table for discussion, and I believe we are starting a feasibility study now, or imminently, for local assembly at some point in the future, and that will, of course, bring the price down, and we'll have more on the road, which is, of course, what we want. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Andrew Omolo, Group Sales and Marketing Director, Hector and Oriel, Wendy Gondi, Director Operations, Ken Bright Insurance Brokers Limited, Charles Mushai, National Dealer Sales Supervisor, Sifao Motors, Hussein Kamal, GM, Truckmat Africa Limited, and lastly we have Jack Wooten, MD Wooten Automotive. Gentlemen, lady, thank you very much for your time and your engagement, and thank you for listening in. You guys look so serious, so I won't ask you to clap. Sometimes you look at people in their face and you're like, should I ask them to clap for the panel or not? But we appreciate. So at this particular moment, is it okay? Let me just borrow this particular microphone because it's powerful. And this particular moment, I'd like to invite my CEO at Standard Group, Mr. Joe Munene. Please come. Speak to us, talk to us about whether Standard Group is going to diversify into vehicle manufacturing in the near future. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. I think mine, first, just to thank the panel for a very robust conversation. We've learned quite a bit. Thank you. As you can see, I'm carrying quite an exotic vehicle here. So mine, ladies and gentlemen, is esteemed guests, exhibitors, and all the automotive enthusiasts present here. This is a momentous occasion. This is the second edition of the Standard Group's Digger Motor Show. And this occasion is not only a celebration of the innovation, engineering, prowess, and our shared passion for all things automotive, but also a mark of the growth and success of this event. The Digger Motor Show aims to showcase the essence, the progress, and the evolution of our motor industry, especially in the context of a fast-paced, the fast-paced technological changes that are happening in the 21st century. And so as we gather at the crossroads, we've had conversations about technology, sustainability, EV vehicles. We embrace the challenges and the opportunities that lie ahead as we seek to reshape transportation. At the Standard Group, we understand the huge influence that the media has in communicating and shaping the perceptions about different industries, and in this particular instance, fostering a deep appreciation for all the exciting developments and products in the automotive industry. Through our media platforms, we have showcased the stories behind the vehicles that you will see today, the automotive solutions highlighting their impact on society, on business, and the environment. Media serves as a powerful bridge connecting the automotive community with the wider world and conveying the passion, the vision, and the legacies that will inspire. I think we've heard about the way cars were built in the past and how will they be built for the future. So, and we in the media, we are happy to be part of telling these stories. Today, the automotive industry stands at a crucial juncture where sustainability and eco-friendliness must take center stage. This Digger Motor Show will not only serve as a platform for showcasing the latest technologies, but also as a catalyst to embrace cleaner and greener alternatives that pave the way to a more sustainable future. In this age of rapid transformation, the media's power and the need for us to inform, inspire, and connect cannot be overstated. And through our extensive network across all our platforms, our storytelling techniques, we continue to strongly amplify these events, the Digger Motor Show, and also to give a voice to all the innovations that you're going to see here today and over the next 3 days, and the exciting products that are shaping this industry. We aim through our media platforms to showcase your brands, to showcase your solutions and innovations, to make them stand out and to contribute to the growth of this sector. There's a lot of innovation. For a long time, we would sit and say, all these vehicles have very good stories that they could be telling. But at the end, users getting to know what is happening in the sector. So a forum like this gives us an opportunity to showcase the different innovations and solutions that we are looking at. So as we immerse ourselves into this edition, 2023 edition of Digger Motor Show, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to all the exhibitors, the partners, and the sponsors who have made this possible. Your support has allowed us to come together once again, and this event is bigger than it was last year, and we are very determined to spotlight and put a voice to this industry so that you're able to bring out all these innovations that we are talking about. So today we have an incredible lineup of over 30 brands showcasing everything from car manufacturing, assembly dealerships, car accessories, modifications and performance tuning, vehicle insurance, Wendy, car financing solutions, electric bikes, EV charging solutions, tours, and travel companies, and of course, some mouth-watering foods and beverages. If we are not fueling ourselves, then we'll not be able to drive these nice vehicles we see. So the displays are truly outstanding, and we look forward to celebrating the exhibitors who will shine the brightest at the award ceremony later on. So a special thank you once again to our panelists for an engaging discussion. And now, as the doors of the Diga Motor Show officially open, I invite us all, both here at the venue and all those who are watching us on TV from your offices and at home, to come and explore and engage and be inspired. Let's embrace the great products and innovations that are present here today. And we look forward to an exciting Diga Motor Show and a resounding success for all the exhibitors. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate. Now, we've been given the go-ahead for you to come. The door has been opened, ladies and gentlemen. The Diga Motor Show right here at the KICC. Make a point of dropping by, because the Diga Motor Show is the bigger motor show. You dig it? I wanted to be a rapper when I was young, but that's just what's happening. A lot happening here. Please come, make a point, drop by, enter into these vehicles, even if it is by faith, saying I'm stepping into this by faith. One day I'll drive it. Come and experience it, which is very, very critical. With that said, my name is KICC. The show is on, and the show is the Diga Motor Show right here at KICC. You are welcome. But at this particular moment, to my wonderful panelists, we appreciate you for your input. Our CEO, we also thank you for supporting this particular initiative under the Standard Group. My name is KICC. I'll leave you because I'm going to meet you live here at the Diga Motor Show. See you on the ground. Because kwa ground, hapa vitu si different, the real ones. There we go. Thank you very much.